Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting webinar of the Brampton Board of Trade and Mississauga Board of Trade. I'm really excited about today. This session, I think, is going to be tremendously practical, and we've got a wonderful turnout of over 60 representatives from many different sectors of our economy here in Peel, and want to thank you for joining us. My name is Todd Letts. I have the good fortune to serve as the CEO of the Brampton Board of Trade, together with our sister chamber, the Mississauga Board of Trade, and its CEO, my good friend Trevor McPherson. We're happy to host today's webinar. We're fortunate to have Shomo Ghosh of MNP with us today to share his thought leadership. MNP is very generous with its time, with its insight, with its financial support of our two boards of trade, and we thank them very much for initiating today's webinar. Today's webinar's focus is on how your business can use CDAP government program to finance and harness the power of technology to standardize, streamline, and automate processes in your operation. How might it be able to help? Well, an effective digital adoption strategy can help improve communications, either internally or suppliers and customers. Automation can end repetitive tasks to better provide customer service or, again, streamline internal processes like hiring, recruiting. It's really quite endless. Today we will outline the CDAP program and how it might be used to help you gain deeper insight into the key business drivers through analytics, create seamless customer experiences, improve your resilience to cyber and privacy threats, and analyze data to make better decisions, reduce costs, and manage your risk better. Again, I'm really excited about this session because Shomo is just an absolute expert in this field. Shomo Ghosh is a seasoned leader with 17 years of experience in a broad array of engagements, including developing digital strategies for both private and public sector organizations, delivering multi-million-dollar technology programs, building innovation programs and teams, and enhancing customer experience, delivering value to clients and organizations. He's passionate about providing business value and customer experience through digital technologies, data, and analytics. Shomo's ability to connect the dots between people and processes and technology allows him to provide innovative solutions to existing business problems. So please join me in welcoming Shomo Ghosh.
Thanks a lot, Todd. Thank you for that, and welcome everyone. Today we'll, as Todd mentioned, we'll talk about the Canada Digital Adoption Program. And in terms of the agenda or the flow of the information, I'll take the opportunity to talk about MNP Digital as an organization a little bit. Then we'll talk a little bit about when we say digital transformation for different industry or different organizations, what do we exactly mean, or what we are seeing from our clients, like the demands that's coming from them. Then we'll jump into the aspects of how CDAP could help you, achieve through those digital transformations, achieve business growth. So we'll get through the mechanics of the CDAP program, what to expect, which area that we have worked on with different organizations, and also some of the mechanics of the program, timelines and things like that. Okay, so we'll review that in detail, and then I'll end the webinar with a couple of case studies that we have completed thus far. We have very many examples, but I just picked some of the ones that will resonate with you, or where the challenges that we solved was really interesting. So I'll kind of go through those aspects as well. For questions, feel free to type it in the chat, and we'll get to them after the webinar is done. What I have in mind is like around 25 minutes to go through the presentation, and then we should have a solid half an hour to answer a lot of your questions. So MNP Digital. So you may already know of or have heard of MNP, through more on the on the accounting, tax and consulting side, but we do have a pretty significant presence in the digital sphere as well. So we have over 500 team members spread across this 7 line of business. So I'm a director on the digital advisory side. I'm based out of Calgary, and I'm leading the rollout of the CDAP program nationally. So although I'm in Calgary, I do have a team coast to coast supporting and rolling out these projects. The reason we decided to manage the CDAP program centrally within MNP is to ensure that you are always getting the latest information that the government is sharing with us, and then there is no disconnect in the way we are communicating with you and things like that. Okay, so I'm part of the advisory group. We do work on digital strategy, large scale program delivery, making decisions like selecting the right solutions for you and things like that. And we have been in this space even prior to this CDAP coming into picture. So we have been doing this work for decades now. Now that's the advisory arm of MNP, and we are independent in our recommendations and whatnot. But in addition to that, we also have the implementation side of MNP. So we have a very expert team in applied data and analytics who does your data integrations to your creating dashboards for your financial or operational programs, all the way to creating advanced artificial intelligence or machine learning algorithms and things like that. We have an application development team who has expertise in building websites and mobile apps, digital marketing, search engine optimization, and all those aspects. A digital platform team who implements your enterprise resource planning or your financial accounting systems, as well as customer relationship management systems. And then a very significant presence in cybersecurity and privacy, as well as cloud services. And we also have a managed IT service or an outsourced IT service team. So we kind of try to position ourselves as an end-to-end digital firm where we help you create the strategy, help you implement the strategy, and then operate. Okay. Now moving on to the digital transformation side of the equation. Digital transformation could mean very many things to different people, and even when we talk about digital transformation, it really depends on the size, the scope, and the impact or the risk associated with it. Really depends on the size and complexity of the organization. In this particular context, I'm pretty much referring to the client that we are seeing who are coming through the CDAP program. Okay, so just to give you some context, the CDAP program was launched last year, and over the last year or so, it was launched in March. 10 months now, almost 11. And in those 11 months, I have had conversation with probably over 500 clients, one-on-one, trying to understand where they're at right now, what some of their challenges are, what are some of the opportunities, and where they're really seeing technology helping them to mitigate some of the risk, or to leverage or take advantage of some of the opportunities. Okay, so the 4 that you see here are not inclusive. It's not that the digital transformation means only these 4 aspects, but this is what we heard from our clients over and over again. The first one is hey, you know what? We have been investing in technology for years now, but we never really had the appetite to invest in create a strategy or a plan. When we had some investments available towards technology projects, we just went and bought a product or a software or a solution. And hey, guess what? 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the road, I just have this this technology landscape with these disparate systems which do not talk to each other, and I'm not getting the efficiency that I expected from these systems, or I'm not able to make business decision based on the data that I'm getting out of the system. Can you help me either rationalize all these applications, do I need these 15 applications, or help me maybe connect or integrate these 3 or 4 and figure out what options are available for us. Okay, so that's something we have have seen. And in this case, the systems could mean like inventory management systems not talking to my financial system, or my customer relationship management system is not does not know what services we are delivering, and my financial system doesn't know like what services we delivered and how much to build. And not that, you know, right now there is a lot of manual data entry, duplicate data entry that's happening to make it kind of all work. So we are hearing a lot of that. Improving back office support, that's probably the other typical one where a client has figured that, you know, hey, we have outgrown our financial or accounting systems, and or we have a new can we like how can we capture like safety or compliance data or quality information or HR information with our core financial accounting system to kind of or maybe even to say that, hey, you know what, we have had a financial accounting only system, and I think we have a complex enough business now to kind of take a look more towards the enterprise resource planning or ERP solutions, right? So we are seeing a lot of that, and the CDAP program can help you, answer questions around that and provide recommendations and whatnot. So those are the two ones that I have seen a lot. On operational efficiency side, that's where I'm seeing a lot from the manufacturing, oil and gas, oil field services, or any construction companies. And just a few examples where I'm seeing a lot around this. Hey, a lot of manual effort, a lot of manual processes. How can we automate some of these? So we are looking into that. And then when we talk about automation, it could be bringing in new solution or using other technologies such as like low code automation or robotic process automation to automate some of the existing processes. So we are looking into that. And then finally improving the employer and the customer experience. So that's just like, how do I engage with customers to get more business, and at the same time, how do I engage or find the right talent to help me deliver the services or the product to the customers? So we are seeing kind of a lot of those as well. And again, as I mentioned, this 4 is not just everything that we are doing, but for the most part, with this through this CDAP engagements, a combination of these areas is what we are really looking at. Now, coming to the program in itself, and I think this is probably what you're all excited. So there are 2 parts to the program, okay? The first one is a $15,000 grant. The $15,000 grant you can only use to create a digital adoption plan or a digital strategy. The $15,000 covers 90% of the expense to engage a government-approved digital advisor. An MNP Digital is a government-approved advisor. So $15,000 will cover 90% of the expense to engage us in helping help you create a digital strategy. Okay, so that's the only purpose of this particular grant, is to create the plan. There is an out-of-pocket expense from your side, which is 10% of the expenses, but that's kind of the only intent. You will not be able to buy any solutions or softwares or do any of the work using this grant. So that's kind of the first part. Once you have this strategy in place, then you will be eligible to receive up to $100,000 of interest-free loan from the Business Development Bank of Canada to implement the initiatives identified in the digital action plan. So it's essentially a $15,000 grant covering 90% of the expenses to create a strategy, followed by an interest-free loan of up to $100,000 to implement the strategy. Now, on the interest-free loan side, it's interest-free for up to 5 years. And then there is another year to do the implementation work. So you have up to 6 years of interest-free loan and up to $100,000. Now, on the $100,000, there is also like a threshold. So if your annual revenue is 5 million and below, you will be eligible for a maximum of $50,000 of loan. If it's 5 million and above, then you will be eligible for the full 100,000. The other question I keep getting is that, so what's in scope? So as I mentioned on the grant, the only way you can use the grant is to create the strategy. The loan, however, is flexible. You can buy software, hardware, anything that you need to implement the initiatives identified in the strategy, and it will also cover, expenses of your internal resources, paying consultants, contractors, vendor, and whatnot. So the loan covers not just the cost of buying the technology, but the cost of implementing the technology within your organization, be it change management, training, and all those aspects. Okay, so the loan is very flexible. And if you're ever in doubt, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be happy to answer. But for general purpose, the loan covers a lot of what you will need to acquire or purchase, or need to the activities that need to perform to implement the technology in your organization. There are four criteria. The four is as listed here. So be incorporated federally, provincially, or a Canadian resident sole proprietor. For-profit privately owned business, have between 1 and 499 full-time employees, and a revenue of between $500,000 and $100 million in one of the previous 3 tax years. As long as you qualify for these 4 criteria, you will get the $15,000 grant, and you'll be eligible to apply for the loan once you have been through the CDAP, the digital strategy process. The strategy is a prerequisite for the loan, so you will not be able to skip the strategy part and apply for the loan directly. Okay, so that's the structure of the program. In terms of some of the target business capabilities or the target areas that we have worked on so far, the list is pretty long, but this is just to give you a snapshot of areas where we have worked on, and essentially to have your wheels turning to see where you could leverage this grant and the following interest-free loan to help improve any of these aspects of your business. So the way we have segregated it is that when we're talking to our clients or even looking or doing an assessment of the business itself, we are looking at, hey, how are you engaging your customer? And if there is a better way through the use of technology to improve your sales or marketing or your customer relationship management in general, improve your digital presence, or moving from a brick and mortar store to an e-commerce platform, or improving just your point of sales solutions, or even integrating it with your inventory management or your financial management solutions and stuff like that. Again, just a snapshot, but something that we have looked at over and over again. Operations, as I mentioned, so product delivery, service delivery, quality management. Sometimes, we're looking at organizations who are building new products or new services, as well as process automation. A snapshot of different back office activities as well, like finance and accounting, supply chain, safety, field services, are just some of the key areas, and as well as digital foundations. Now, with digital foundations, what we have noticed is that when we're looking at the CDAP, most of the clients that we have worked with are in that $500,000 to $30-40 million kind of the bracket, and they do not have a lot of the IT expertise in-house. So essentially what's happening there is that we come in, bring our expertise to help organizations with data management or cloud adoption, cybersecurity, and also taking a look at their IT infrastructure when applicable. So for each of these projects that we have delivered, it has been a combination of in an area from maybe operations and a digital foundations, for example, or a back office and a customer relationship management. So it's kind of a combination based on your unique context. We are not creating a strategy based on something that we have done in the past, or we do not have like a cookie cutter recommendation that we are making to you. All the assessment and the recommendation that we're doing are based on your own business context and business needs.
Shomo, it's Todd here. We've got our first question coming from KST. They have an eligibility question. We did have revenue. We did have revenue of $500K last year, but we have this year, which is yet to be filed. Are we still eligible?
Yes, you are eligible. You just have to file the tax and then apply for the CDAP program. Then you will be eligible.
Thank you, Shomo.
Thank you, Todd, for pointing that out. Okay. Okay, so how can MNP help? So, so we can help you with the eligibility assessment. So if you have any questions regarding eligibility, let us know. It's pretty clear. It's essentially the way the CDAP application is validating. Is that it's going against your CRA records or against the CRA database and validating your last revenue and how many T4s you have issued. So that's kind of how the validation is happening. So based on the last question, yes, if your revenue is more than 500,000, but it's this year and you haven't filed the taxes, just file the tax so that CRA knows, and then CDAP will approve your application. So that's really how it's working. But if you have any other questions, let me know, and I'll be and we'll be able to help you through that process. The grant application support, the grant in itself will applying for the grant, there is no, it's all online. There is no forms to fill up or anything like that, but there are couple of criteria. It's that only an owner or a director of the company can apply for the grant. That's number one. Number two is that owner or the director needs to have the My Canada business account or the CRA login to access the corporate tax information. Okay, and that's really all you need to apply for the grant. It's a bunch of logins. There is no form to fill or no like lengthy information to provide. You just log in to say, hey, this is who I am. You can log in using your personal banking credentials. So you can log in with that. You can log in through the CRA. Using your CRA user ID and password and provide access to all those information. And the rest of the process is pretty automatic. From the time you apply, you start the application and you get the approval, for a lot of our clients where we have kind of sat through the whole process, it took just 20 minutes to not just apply, but to even get the approval and just be done with it. Okay, but if you need any kind of support, again, we are happy to help through that application support as well. And then the needs assessment, understanding your specific business needs, reviewing what solution options are available, doing the proper analysis, and then delivering the strategy on the roadmap to you is part of the actual project work that we are doing. The eligibility assessment and the grant application support is more like upfront support that we are providing to ensure that you are approved of the grant before we start the project.
Shomo, I have another question. The $15,000 grant portion, one of our audience members wants to use that for a social robot to assist in client experience, primarily with children in therapy sessions. It's a health therapy group. Would the 15,000 grant be, could you allocate that to actual hardware, the social robot, or is it simply for the strategy?
Yeah, so the 15,000 grant can only be used for the strategy. However, the following $100,000 of interest-free loan is something that you can definitely use for that purpose.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Todd, on that side?
No, great questions so far, but really insightful presentation. Please continue.
Thank you. So in terms of the journey, so how the overall journey will look like, and we have a pretty detailed approach that kind of is the next level of details with a lot of tasks and activities. To give a sense, it's taking us around 6 to 8 weeks to go through the overall process and to deliver the strategy to you. We will need around 10 to 12 hours from your side over those 6 to 8 weeks, with around 80 to 100 hours from our side. Okay, so that's kind of how the projects are being delivered. In terms of the CDAP journey itself, assuming that you are already approved for the program, we start with your unique business context. And as I mentioned, we do not have like some templates where we come and say, hey, if you are a construction company, these are the 5 things you need to do, because each company is different, the size difference, they're different from a digital maturity perspective, or from a complexity, or even like the type of challenges or opportunities that you would like to leverage, right? So everything is different. So we kind of start with an understanding of your unique business context. And then from there, we identified challenges and opportunities where we should be focusing on. So essentially, a lot of interviews, surveys, questionnaires is how we will facilitate the conversation in the first step. And the end final product from that first step is going to be the key focus areas where we should dig further down. Okay, with that information, then we'll move on to the step 2, and we'll talk really about future states. So it's at this time we'll be talking about, okay, not like how your business is operating today and what are some of the challenges, but how we could potentially overcome these challenges or leverage these opportunities through the use of technology. And that will include future state visioning workshops and facilitated session. From there, we will take a deeper dive into some of the detailed requirements that's specific to your business. Now, I'll stop here and just make a statement is that, when you think of digital strategy, some of you may have already experienced, sometimes it tends to get a bit fluffy. In this particular case, it's not. It will be very actionable and pragmatic. The reason being that the purpose of this digital action plan is that it's acting as an input to a loan application. So it cannot be very vague, fluffy, or at a high level. It has to be pretty, tangible and actionable. So we will take a deeper dive into the detailed requirements, and then based on those requirements, we'll reach out to the market and we'll do our own analysis and assessment, and then come back to you with a minimum of 3 recommendations. And I'll emphasize on that again, that as part of this overall process, as we are identifying a focus area, take for example, one of the focus areas is to modernize your financial accounting processes or your business function. And we say, okay, you know what, you can upgrade a little bit too much, and there are multiple solutions and options available for you to modernize that finance business function. So instead of giving you with one recommendation, we have to, as per the government mandated terms, we have to give you a minimum of 3 options. So in this case, you will actually have the advantage of doing the evaluation yourself and look at like, hey, option 1 cost me X amount of dollars and it will take me only 50% of where I need to be. Option 2, maybe X plus 10%, takes me to the 70%. And option 3 is really expensive. It's probably twice of option 2, but is delivering me even more than what we want at this time. And that's kind of the perspective you will get for each focus area. So that's kind of in the recommended solutions step is what we'll do. And then we'll do a cost benefit analysis for each of those options, and then create the overall implementation timeline with the investment that's needed to implement the roadmap. So that entire story, or all those steps and the information and the data we collect through all these different steps, will form a part of your digital adoption plan. So it will be a very comprehensive report, 50+ pages, that you can then take, go to the Business Development Bank of Canada, receive the loan, implement the plan, resulting in eventual business growth. Okay, I'll stop there. Any questions? Okay.
Yeah, please continue. Yeah.
Sounds good. So a couple of case studies, as I was mentioning, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, the CDAP program in general. And I'll flip through the case studies, relatively quickly, but once we share some of this information, you will be able to read through these. The first one was Western Oil Services, so a fueling infrastructure, and that's kind of their operations. So they are very operations heavy organizations, and was using a very antiquated financial management or an enterprise resource planning software, as well as their IT infrastructure and all those aspects were pretty outdated. So they were kind of looking for options for us to see and really answer the question, is that whether should they move from the the application that they have today and just move to a cloud version of it, or should they evaluate other solution options? So that's really the question we help them answer, along with the savings that they will have by moving to a cloud application versus having an on-prem presence with all the different IT infrastructures and things like that. And we also evaluated the risk associated with taking approach 1 versus option 2 versus option 3. So it was a pretty domain specific engagement, I would say, because the tools and the technologies that we are dealing with is very specific to this industry, but we were able to help them go through the entire process step by step, and then offered them the 3 options that they could take. And right now, we finished this project pretty recently, and now we are in conversation with them as to how we can help them through the implementation of the preferred option. The next one is Brick Eye Limited, again, a construction company. And they had a very similar use case where they are seeing huge growth. They're having they're not getting the right financial reports, or they're like, I would say that from a maturity perspective, they're pretty good, but they just want to make it even better. So when we looked into their landscape, it was more around like, you're doing everything right, and you're probably at a 3 out of 5 in terms of digital maturity. But because you want to really get sophisticated, let's see how we can bring in innovation to your financial management and your customer relationship management aspects, and make improvements there. So the recommendation for Brick Eye was, again, very specific to their unique needs. And because they were mature, it was not that, hey, just replace this software, or just move on to cloud. It was more looking through their processes and all the different information that they're collecting, and how they could use those better to make better decisions, and also differentiate themselves from their competitors. Okay. The third one is grid integrations. Again, construction slash energy company, but in a different spectrum. So they are a bit more in the scale up phase right now. So pretty new company. So they had a lot of the basic tools and technologies in place, but what they were struggling with was finding the right talent to do the work. So that's number one. And the number 2 was because of the price fluctuation due to supply chain issues and whatnot. They were really wanted to understand in near real time how they're performing on these projects, and how profitable they are in all of these installations and things like that. So we went through the process, and we talked about data, and how to do strategy and planning using those data, and also looked into their human resource aspects of their business. Okay. Shogun, Mitek, and these are all, most of them are actually Ontario-specific examples. So they're very interesting story with Shogun. So they started like 4 or 5 years back, and they are making very specialized Japanese mushrooms in Ontario. Okay, and started in 2017-18, and they were growing like Japanese mushrooms in Toronto, and they were supplying to restaurants in GTA. Then COVID came, so they couldn't supply to the restaurants. They started supplying to the Safeways and the Sobeys of the world. And then I haven't heard the full story, but when we got engaged, it was Costco who approached them to say, hey, I would like to get your product in Costco. It means high volume, and they had to scale. So we really looked through their production facility and how they can leverage technology to automate a lot of their production processes. So we looked into those aspects for this particular client. Again, very instrumentation heavy, and sensors and all those kind of things is what we looked at for this particular client. And the last one is Rocket Rays. Again, it's a software as a service company. And I'm just giving you a flavor of different kind of companies that we have worked on. Rocket Race Software as a Service company, seeing huge growth and really wanted to integrate their customer relationship with how they're engaging with their customers, with how they're delivering the services, and tying that to billing. Now with software as a service, it gets a little tricky because the billing is based on the usage of the customers, and they were finding it a little hard to tie that together automatically, like they already have a process to do it manually. So we looked into those aspects of the solutions. Okay, so that's kind of some of the case studies. I have a way more examples to share or talk about it. But in terms of like when you're thinking of how do we get started, as I said, we are here to help you through the entire process. And I'm not just the person who are doing all this talking. I know I'll be giving the presentations here. I'll be meeting you one-on-one, and then even managing the projects and delivering it and making sure you receive the grant and then you get the loan. So, it's me kind of managing the overall end-to-end process, but we do have a team supporting me from my side. And, you can email us at the CDAP support@mnp.ca or visit our website. I've provided the link here. And either way you reach out, it will kind of come to me and my team, and then we will triage it from there.
Well, that's great, Shomo. And yes, not only a great explanation of eligibility and application, but also some great examples there as well. I want to encourage our audience. This is the time for you to ask questions. Please post them in the chat. I'm going to welcome my friend Trevor McPherson, CEO of the Mississauga Board of Trade, back, and we'll start things off. We've got a couple of questions here, but by all means, please feel free to put your question in the chat and we'll ask it. I'm going to start off. There are 2 grants, I understand, but Grow Your Business, which is up to 2,400, maybe 2,500. Maybe you can help us understand that. And then the Boost Your Business grant, which you explained is up to 15,000. And then the third component, which might have been news to many on our call today, is the $100,000 loan. Now, the 15,000, I understand, is a precursor. I should say the strategy is a precursor to that loan. But could you just recap again the difference between the 2,400 or 2,500, the 15,000, and the 100,000 loan?
Sure. So under the CDAP umbrella or the CDAP program, there are 2 streams, or as you mentioned, the stream 1 is Grow Your Business Online, and then stream 2, your Boost Your Business Technology. So for stream 1, the criteria is different. Okay, so you do not have to have like $500,000. It's 30,000, I believe. So stream 1, the criteria is different, and you can actually, it's a micro grant, and you can use that grant to make changes to your website or e-commerce or implement an e-commerce tool. Okay. The difference is that you can use this grant to actually do the changes. On the flip side, you can only make the changes to your website or on your e-commerce. Okay, so though that's kind of how that grant is there. It's primarily meant for really small business who just wants to kind of have that first website or that first e-commerce platform integrated to their business. The delivery mechanism of that particular grant is also a little different. So it kind of varies by province to province, and there is an agency who is helping, based on the province, who is helping clients such as you to go through that process. In Ontario's case, I believe it's the Ontario Chambers of Commerce who is rolling that program out. They will help you, go through the application process. They'll find who can do the work for you because it's actually making changes to the website, and then also, and ensure that you kind of take them through the entire process. So that's stream 1, and unfortunately there is no follow-up loan on that one. So that's kind of the sole purpose of that particular program, is to update your website or launch a website or e-commerce. Okay. The stream 2 is what we talked about, is the $15,000 strategy, and then the $100,000 of loan. And there is also, for the stream 2, there's also, you'll get the option of during the implementation phase, if you decide to hire some internal resources to help you with the program implementation, you'll get a wage subsidy of $7,300 as well. So those are kind of the three aspects of that particular the Boost Your Business Technology Grant. The criteria is different. Again, here it starts at $500,000 and above, whereas the Stream one is 30,000 or so.
Right. Well, that's great.
I see KST in our audience has their hand raised. I'm not sure if we're taking questions just on the floor right now instead of text, but KST, if you're able to unmute, we can hear you out. Nope. Okay, maybe that was an inadvertent hand raise. And how long is the application process? What can companies expect?
So the biggest bottleneck in the application process, as I mentioned, there are three things that needs to be in place. The owner, or only an owner or a director can apply for the grant. Okay, so if you're finding it hard to get access to that owner or director, that's kind of gets tricky. So you need to have the owner or the director. Number two is that that same person needs to have the My Canada business account login to access the CRA records. And what I'm seeing is that not a lot of owners or directors do have that. So then we are introducing the whole aspect of creating that CRA business account. Okay. Now, assuming you are the owner in this call interested in the program, you bank with, you do have obviously you'll have a bank account, like your personal bank, doing personal banking online, and you have that My Canada business account. It will take 20 minutes to apply and get approved.
Okay, well, that's I don't think we can ask for quicker than that. Great, thank you very much. And we did have in the chat, Brampton Board of Trade are going to unmute our friends at KST or KST, as it were, to ask their question.
It's a Kickstart therapy. KST stands for Kickstart therapy.
Okay.
Actually, I did post the questions in the chat. My question was, in this digital transformation grant, if you want to invest in the social robots, which will allow us to leverage the technology in providing the experience to our client in the therapy session, using the social robot as a tool to provide the therapy. It does not eliminate the human capital, but it just provides that better experience and the engagement to our client. So are this kind of investment qualified for this $15,000 grant?
So as I mentioned, that the grant can only be used to create the plan or the strategy. So the grant, you will not be able to use it to buy or do any of the work that you just mentioned, but using the loan, the follow-up loan, you will be able to do it.
Okay, so this grant cannot be utilized to buy the product. We can only—
No, the only purpose is to create that digital strategy or the plan.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Shomo, what about the situation where a company may already have a digital adoption plan? Can the CDAP program be used to augment it, or would they still be eligible?
So if you're talking about so if they have the Stream one or the Grow Your Business Online grant, they can still apply for the CDAP grant, right? But if they if they have the CDAP, or if they have the digital adoption plan created through the CDAP program, they will be eligible for the loan. Now there are some other programs, such as in Quebec we have the Industry 4.0 audit, or a few other programs that have happened in the past. If your organization went through that process already, you do not have to go through the CDAP process again. You can, what they're calling it as the fast track process. So essentially, you will be able to apply for the loan directly if you went through one of those programs already. And the list of the programs I can share with you. I know a couple, but there is a list on the government website where they say, if you have been through this process, you do not have to go through CDAP again, and you will be eligible to apply for the loan.
Okay, so just to clarify, if you have a plan that's been developed outside of CDAP funding, can you go direct to BDC for that loan application?
Yes, as long as the plan was created using either the Industry 4.0 or Atlantic Canada had a program as well. So there are some pre-approved programs essentially. If you went through those programs, then only you'll be able to apply for the BDC loan. If you have created a digital strategy on your own, then you still have to go through the CDAP process, have that strategy validated by an approved advisor, and then you will be eligible for the loan.
I see.
Shomo, you did a great job of outlining the CDAP journey, that kind of snakes and ladder looking graphic that you had up there. What about a digital needs assessment? What are the components of a digital needs assessment? What are some of the questions that are asked? I know that you know, some of this can seem intimidating to smaller businesses, and you know, if we can start by breaking it down, what some of the initial questions are, might encourage some businesses to apply.
Yeah, so that's a great question, Todd. The way we are doing it as part of our approach is that we are not, you know, we have tailored our approach pretty much on the business side more than on the digital side. So when we are talking about a needs assessment, we are not really focusing on what technology do you need. We are more trying to understand what business problems that you have. So that's what most of our questions are, as you know, be it in the questionnaire or be it during the interviews. So we are asking specific questions like, how do you do this process and where are some of the inefficiencies? And once we have a good understanding of how the business functions and some of the gaps or you know, we do our assessment and say, hey, these are the areas of improvement. Then we bring in the technology into the conversation saying, hey, these are the areas where we can help them, where technology can actually help you.
Yeah, I have one more question, Soumya. So is there any way we can connect offline? Because I want to understand how we use the $15,000 for the strategy development. Because in my view, like, the strategy is to buy these, you know, product for the social robot for that customer experience or client experience. So I don't know what else we can put meat be and spend 15,000 in developing strategy. My mind is boggling here.
No,
how are we going to use that?
Every use case is different. So yeah, maybe something we can definitely follow up on and see, you know, whether it's applicable or not. Okay.
And in terms of connecting with Shomo and the MNP team, of course, you can pose questions directly to CDAP support at mnp.ca or visit their website. I see that Alice has put that website in the chat as well. Any other questions? Trevor, do you have a question?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, that's great. I have just one last one. Maybe we can wrap up. You've done a good job of outlining eligibility. Is there, off the top of your head, 2 or 3 expenses, costs that are not eligible with the booster business grant or the loan?
Yeah, so for the grant, the only eligible cost is the effort to create the strategy, right? So that we made that clear. But on the loan side, it's pretty flexible. So we have had a couple of conversations with the Business Development Bank of Canada, or BDC, to say, hey, is there anything that's excluded? And for the most part, they said that no, it's you know, anything and everything that's needed to implement that technology in the organization or to implement the digital strategy will be covered by the loan. So you know, I will not discourage anyone or say that, you know, maybe I'll not apply for CDAP because, you know, this expense will not be eligible. I think, you know, pretty much any aspect of the cost, as long as it relates to the digital adoption plan, it helps implement that plan, should be covered by the loan.
you so much for partnering with us on this. I'd like to thank our friends at the Brampton Board of Trade and Todd in particular, and your team for pulling this together. It's so important that we keep pace with adopting technology, because if we don't, our competitors will, and it's more and more important that we're on top of this. So I want to thank provided today. The presentation will be shared, I understand, as well, and I'm sure we'll be posting this so others that were not able to join can see it as well. But want to again thank our great partners at MNP and all the expertise you bring, not only to this area, but so many other areas that businesses benefit from your support. So thank you so much. Thank you, Brampton Board of Trade, and thank you all for joining us today. With that, we're going to call it a wrap. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. In terms of MBOT activities, I'll just point one out that we have coming up on February 2nd. We're hosting our Talent Acquisition and Management Forum, at which we'll hear from Canada's Immigration Minister, along with a number of CEOs, that for a discussion on how they're dealing with this new normal in terms of the workforce. So look for that on our website. Something coming up that you want to share as well?
Yeah, thanks, Trevor. And we'll be sure to put that on our calendar as well. February 7th, we hold our annual State of the City. That is the luncheon where Mayor Brown will address and give his forecast for 2023, along with the chair of the Brampton Board of Trade, Daniel Lewis. And you can find out more about that at bramptonbot.com.
Excellent. It's always a great opportunity to hear Daniel speak. He's so inspiring and motivating. So that's wonderful. And with that, hope you all have a wonderful week. Thank you.